Hi, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Thursday, and you know what that means? That means it is coffee with EverBee, or if you are anything like me, you have about 2 to 3 different drinks in each of your individual bottles today. We already got a lot of people chilling in the comments right now. I am super excited. We have some people from Cedar Rapids, Northern Michigan. That's awesome. Tell me where. I actually am in Lansing, Michigan. We've got Oregon Coast, Canada. We've got someone from Nigeria, Charleston, South Carolina. Man, we have got so many people here ready to listen to an awesome conversation that I am going to be having with one of the most awesome people I personally know in the Etsy space and on YouTube. So, really excited to introduce her in just a quick second. Little pieces of housekeeping I wanted to quickly let you know is everybody that's here, whether you have been here before, because we have been doing this. I just actually spoke with someone a second ago that I just realized we've been doing this since February 15th. So how many months is that? Like 8 straight months we have been together doing this. This is awesome. I'm so grateful to have you guys every single day. But if you are brand new, I also want to shout you out as well. Hello, thank you for being here. And if you are also watching the replay and you weren't able to catch us live, that is fine too. We absolutely love and adore you as well. If you are watching this video live or on replay, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up right now. I'll go ahead and just give you a couple seconds. Go ahead and do that. That helps us be pushed in the algorithm and help more Etsy and e-commerce sellers just like you. And again, if you are brand new, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I do go live for you guys just like this every single Thursday. Without further ado, I am very excited to introduce our guest speaker today. So we are going to have Heather from Heather's Studio come in. Want to give you a quick rundown if you are brand new to this, to how this is going to work. Basically, I've got some questions that I want to ask Heather myself. We're going to go back and forth on getting those answered for you guys and providing as much value as we physically can for you all. But I also want to get as many questions that you guys have answered as well. You guys have already dropped 4 or 5 questions in the comments, and I've already starred all of them. So while we're talking, if you have anything that you'd like Heather or I to address for you, feel free to let me know. I am personally watching the questions come in live on this chat, and I will go ahead and star them, and then we will leave around 15 minutes at the end to address all of those questions, okay? So with that said, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Heather from Heather Studio. Hey, girl.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you here. Heather and I were chatting a little bit beforehand. So I'm just so stoked to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course.
Sweet. Okay, well, if you're cool with it, let's just go ahead and dive right in. I know a lot about you, obviously. Just a small little self-deprecation note here. I have been stalking Heather lightly for about a year and a half. So before we ever got connected with EverBee, she was one of the many people that I would watch while I was walking on the treadmill. So it is just such an honor, and really, I gotta pinch myself that I'm even here talking with you today. But I know a lot about your story. Some people might not. Some people might be brand new to to learning who you are, what you've done. So can you give me a quick rundown on what inspired you to start your Etsy shop in the first place? And how did you choose to make the decision to focus on print on demand?
Yeah. So my story started, I'd like to say that it was due to the pandemic. I know that you've been probably following along to my story and my initial interviews, but I always loved graphic design and art. And I was very much, I just always loved art my whole entire life. That was my favorite class in elementary school to middle school to high school. And I always wanted to do something in the business world, but I never knew how. And it wasn't until I finally got my first time full-time job in healthcare. I worked as an MRI technologist at a hospital. Coincidentally, that was the same time the pandemic hit. And surprisingly, my department in the hospital, the imaging department, got cut back in hours. A lot of people were laid off to fund the nurses, right? So, and that completely makes sense. That was a moment in healthcare where a lot of us understood, like, okay, we know the hospital needs to cut back on certain departments so we can really get patients care that they need with
Totally.
other areas, right? So I didn't at that time though, I just bought my first home.
Mhm.
And that was like my biggest investment ever. That was my first
Mhm.
condo I purchased, and I had serious bills to pay.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it hit me, oh, this is this is kind of a scary situation
Mhm.
here that I won't be able to pay my bills because my hours were cut. Thankfully, I want to say I wasn't laid off. I know a lot of people were laid off during that time, and I was very grateful for that.
Mhm.
But I had a moment of, okay, this is either I find some other way to make money online, or I am going to have to. I don't know what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have
Mhm.
to find a second job, trade some more of my time for money, and in that moment, I decided, hey, you know what? Let me look at like online things maybe. And I was searching on Indeed. I was looking on LinkedIn for a part-time job in healthcare as well. But then one night, when I was on call for my hospital, so I worked at a stroke center, and I was on call for any strokes that came in through the
Mhm.
night. And I remember I couldn't sleep that night, and I went on YouTube and I
Mhm.
stumbled across a few videos about Etsy and print on demand.
Mhm.
And I was just so shocked that there was a
Mhm.
business that existed, that people were genuinely making an income online without having to trade their time for money anymore. And I was just so flabbergasted.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
feel like I never use that word, but it's a word I'm
Funny
using.
you say that because I literally used that in a video today. And I was like, "Where did that word come from?"
Yeah, I feel like my, like, 5th grade English
Right,
teacher
right.
used that word. But anyways, I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy," and I just couldn't believe it, and I remember I kept looking at these, YouTubers, and I was
Right.
like, "No way, like, this is all fake, this is a lie, this is," I'm sure a lot of people watching, you probably
Totally.
feel the same with my
Mhm.
channel and other channels, right?
Yep.
And I was like, "Okay, there's no way," like, because 'cause I'm a real, I
Mhm.
consider myself a real person. I don't know why I said I'm a real person. Let me just make sure people know I'm a real
This
person,
is
but
not an AI, Heather. I She
yeah,
is actually here.
not AI. Like, I'm a real
Yeah.
person, just like anyone watching, where I was questioning people
Mhm.
online. I was like, there is no way. Like,
Mhm.
I don't believe this. I'm not trusting this person online that's telling me they're making a few $1,000s in profit and they quit their
Mhm.
jobs. Like, that's
Mhm.
crazy. So, I ignored it for a little bit, and then I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I jumped straight in. I believe it was 2020 when I jumped in to print on demand, and it was a huge fail for me when I first started because production times
Mm.
during the summer that I began, which I wish I started earlier that year when I initially found out about print on demand. But during the summertime, production times, due to the pandemic and what it was, jumped to 2 to 4 weeks to
Oh,
print
man.
and ship orders out. So I knew a lot of the people I followed on YouTube were saying, "Hey, reviews are everything. That's how you start the momentum, start the wheel spinning in your shop." And I was like, "Okay, I can't have all these bad reviews on my shop, on my business. So it's just a sign this isn't for me." And then I also got my hours back at work at
Mm.
the same time. So I was like, "Nope." This was just a fun idea. It was,
Mhm.
kind of like just a fun little thing I
Yeah.
did.
Like a creative outlet for a little while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
creative outlet. I'm just gonna drop it, and that's it. So
Mhm.
I closed my shop,
Oh, wow.
and I waited until the end of the year, and I honestly had no intention of going back into print on demand in the world of Etsy, but I was very, like, sad,
Mhm.
and I got more hours that kinda made up for my cut of hours earlier in the year because due to the pandemic, there were just so many more people coming into the hospital and
Mhm.
getting imaging.
Of
So
course.
I was working on overdrive, and I was working 12 to 16-hour days. And then I'd be on call after a 16-hour workday.
Wow.
And I just remember it was really draining me. And I know a lot of people in healthcare, a lot of prior students I've worked with, and subscribers and clients, a lot of people had the same response to the overwhelm that healthcare
Mhm.
faced. And like one of my clients that I worked with recently who hit like her 1,000 sale mark,
Nice.
she was a nurse and she said,
Mhm.
yeah, I had the same problem. Like it made me realize like, you know, even healthcare jobs aren't as stable as we thought, right? Or like, you know, you can get cut in certain sections of the hospital,
Mhm.
surprisingly, and things like that. So that's just something that I just realized, like, maybe like I love healthcare. I love helping people. That's why I went into it. I really care about
Mhm.
um, people and the patients, and I loved what I did.
Mhm.
Absolutely loved it. But I knew that it maybe it wasn't like I was feeling sad and like unmotivated in life. And that's when I decided, and I saw YouTube videos again on my phone
Nice.
on demand. Yeah, and I went straight back into it. I decided to start that January, and I actually wrote
Wow.
down in my journal. I wish I had it here to just show you, like, as proof, but I wrote down in my journal, like, I remember I put the date and I put my goals to make 100K this year. And
Wow.
the first few months of that year, it was very slow
Of course.
moving, uploading listings and not seeing any sales and thinking, okay, I missed my shot. I missed my chance
Mhm.
to get sales and get a shop off the ground running.
And
And
is that because, like, you feel like you might have missed out on Q4 because you started in January?
yep,
Got
yeah. And I was in a Facebook group for print on demand, and all the people that started the same time I closed my shop
Mhm.
ended up hitting like
Ah,
multiple six figures.
I see. Got it.
And that was a slap in the face. I was like, "Oh my goodness. I just lost out on that chance."
Mhm.
So, that happened, and I was like, "Ah, man," but I know everyone else feels that, right? I mean,
Totally.
you know, I'm not really, necessarily looking at the chat too much. I actually opened it up in my second window, but let me know, like, let us know if
Mhm.
you guys
Please.
are feeling that way because I felt
Mhm.
that way, and that's completely normal to feel. It's validating to kind of feel that you're not alone, right? So I started that January. I posted listing after listing, didn't see any sales, and then I was almost about to close my shop again because I was like, I missed
Ugh.
that opportunity.
Yeah.
And then I woke up one morning to a cha-ching on my phone, and that was my first sale organically from a stranger online. I did not ask or know.
Right.
And from that one cha-ching, it led to that consistently happening it a few times a week,
Nice.
multiple times a week. And then by the end of that year, I hit over 250K in revenue. And I tried
Wow.
Shopify as well during that.
Mhm. Yep.
So between Shopify and Etsy, I made over 100K in gross profit.
Ooh.
So, and that what I wrote on my journal was
Mhm.
exactly what happened that
Yeah.
year. And it was just like a moment of,
Mhm.
um, I don't know, it was a surreal moment because that was the first six figures I'd ever hit in a year in my
Wow.
life. So, yeah, that's ultimately the story. And then
No, that's huge.
I kept going, and then I started uploading YouTube videos about my story, and people asked for tutorials. And then I started making tutorials on all the things people were asking in my comments. And then
Mhm.
from there, now I'm coaching about
Yep.
this amazing world of print on demand.
Amazing.
And I love what I do because I'm able to help people the way that
Mhm.
I helped in healthcare in a way. It's not the same by any means, but I feel like this was kind of where I was maybe meant to be as far as helping people in a different way. And
Yeah.
that's what I really value in being in the internet space now. So,
Very cool. I love it, man. That is such a beautiful story. I love that you just kind of started with a servant's heart, continued with a servant's heart, and you even more continued by being able to do YouTube videos, which, by the way, guys, is this is free, right? Like we're not charging for this. We're showing up every single Thursday. Heather is showing up for you guys once a week on her channel. If you're not following her, it's Heather Studio, correct?
yep.
Yep. So ITS Heather Studio. Make sure you go follow. I'll also put it in the description as well. But it's so beautiful to see that, like, I know from experience how long it takes and how exhausting, like, being a YouTuber or a content creator is. Plus, you are consulting and coaching people on how to build their own journey. Plus, you're also serving your customers on the print on demand stores that you have. So that is so beautiful. Thank you so, so much for sharing. And I will say there are some people saying that they share that sentiment, that they're experiencing that right now. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And also for everybody else, like knowing that like I was in the exact same boat too back in 2021. So it's literally insane that you say that it was 2021 January, because that's when I started my journey as well. So
Wow.
actually insane. And now look, we're talking to you guys on this live. So we all have been there. Just the only thing that I can say, and I know Heather said too, is just keep on keeping on. And there were times that she even was just like, maybe not, like maybe we should stop.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, keep on keeping on until you pretty much can't anymore. But also follow the signs if you believe that something is leading you away from something. So another thing I want to ask, it's kind of the first question that I asked, but I also want to just hit on one little thing really quickly as well. We chose print on demand. Why did you not choose digital or handmade at the time?
Yeah, so I actually was looking into potentially having my own inventory. I contacted, like, I was looking on like I was looking for like wholesale suppliers and
Yep.
whatnot because I was like,
We've all
oh,
been there.
yeah, I was just trying to figure out how to do it. And then I was looking into purchasing a direct to garment printer and maybe an embroidery machine.
Yep.
And I think my business took off to the stage with print on demand. Like once I started seeing that income kind of coming
Totally.
in, that's when I started looking at the handmade route because I was like, oh, will profit margins be a little bit better?
Mhm.
But then I started calculating the inventory
Right.
investment, and I was just like, this is me probably losing money now
Right.
from.
And also not even thinking of the time investment too.
Yep.
Like, so yes, print on demand is less profit, but like I'm from experience have done handmade home decor
Yeah.
and we were in negatives multiple times. So I totally get that.
Yep. Yeah. And that's where I was just like, what's that quote about like if you have something good going, don't
True.
don't
Don't stop it.
yeah, don't
Yeah.
stop it. And
Yeah. It's
that's
like
where
if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. And with digital, I actually tried digital. It was not good, but I didn't give it that much time,
True.
and that was the problem. I didn't actually really go into it because again, the print on demand side was kind of just taking off, and I was like, well, let me focus on this one thing. And what I recommend to viewers who are watching is the book. I believe it's called The One Thing. I almost
Nice. Very easy.
yes. I'm
Yeah.
almost positive, unless I have that wrong, I'm
Right.
pretty sure it's The One Thing, though. And that book goes over to master one skill set and one thing first, become really good at it before you transfer and transition to the next thing.
Agreed.
So that's kind of where I was at, and I'm happy I read that book at the time I did because I realized, okay, let me narrow my focus on print on demand first. But digital, I did create a planner. I'm not gonna lie, I spent like a whole week creating
Oh.
this digital planner. Got no sales,
Yep.
didn't do that well, but it's funny because I actually used it. Like I used my own digital planner
Nice.
for
I
a
love
whole
that.
year. And
Very cool. I
but
mean, it did what it was supposed to do.
yeah, I got one person. One
Yep.
person, that person
Amen.
was me. Yeah.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah, I got high on my own supply, as they say. So,
I love that. I'm gonna
yeah,
name the title of this video, "Get High on Your Own Supply with Heather."
yeah. Don't do that. Don't do
No,
that for
we will be banned.
Dude, would not recommend that because obviously I did not do well in that digital store. But
Fair.
and then I also tried my hand a little bit at mock-ups.
Right.
Did not do well either. But also that was prior to like being on YouTube and knowing how to market digital products. Like I was just very new to all the digital worlds. And once I started on YouTube, I considered doing mock-ups. And then again, I went back to the thought, one thing, Heather,
Right,
you
right. And
do.
YouTube at that time was that one thing.
Yep. Yeah. I was
Right.
like, it's either YouTube focusing
Mhm.
on like a mock-up shop or doing digital. And YouTube, like I really found passion in it. I like
Love
educating.
it.
That's where my like where I feel purpose, right?
Nice.
And that's kind of where I really sunk into doing YouTube route.
Yeah.
Um, and now that's kind of, kind of my rotation, but I
Mhm.
still like having the brain I have. I am a serial and entrepreneur at
Mhm.
heart, and
Yeah.
that's dangerous.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, as I'm sure you
Yeah.
also are, where it's like, oh man, there's so many great business
Yeah.
ideas. But
Like
again,
shiny object syndrome every single week. Yeah.
yep. Oh yeah. But again, like anyone who's experiencing that in this call
Mhm.
too, like just one thing, get good at that one thing.
Mhm.
Once you're good at it, move to the next thing. But right now, just don't get too overwhelmed. And that's kind of the takeaway, I guess, for those watching. So
I love that. I think that's also a perfect segue into a question that I had for you because it is opposite of a question that I gave to Scott from Brand Creators 2 weeks ago. So we had a call with him and it's literally called Brand Creators is his brand name. So he's
yeah.
very, very focused on one niche. I'm saying it right for the first time ever, guys. I was told so many times last week at a YouTube conference that I kept saying niche wrong. So we're saying niche now. I hope you guys are happy. But
Niche.
focuses. I love niche, but whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But he focuses on one niche, and he also like requires slash recommends his people as well. I know your approach is a little bit different. Neither are the best, neither are the worst. I think that they both equally can work, but we get that question all the time. So Heather, I'm going to ask you, general or niche store? What do you recommend? No matter what type of seller they are.
Yeah, general store. That's easy answer, general shop. I had a general shop, multiple niches. I think one niche is fine though. Not to, there's multiple ways to do one thing, right? And I know I was just talking about the one thing, and I know that gets a little bit confusing now. It's like, okay, Heather just said one thing, and now you're saying multiple things.
Multiple, right?
But
Fair.
here, when I was saying one thing, it's more about the skill set
Mhm.
and kind of learning the most that you can in that skill set.
Right.
From there, kind of diving into multiple niches, because what I found with a lot of the sellers I've worked with throughout the past few years is some sellers excel in certain niches and excel in certain product types. And for me, I fear for some sellers that they may possibly miss out on a
Okay.
really lucrative opportunity for them by not tapping into different niches and different product types. So that's why my methods and my methodology is to try out multiple products, try out
Love it.
multiple niches, but I would recommend starting with one niche. I highly recommend that. Again, go back to the one thing,
Right.
start maybe with one niche, one product type. Then once you get good at designing for that one niche, one product type, you learn the niche, you can move on. And one niche can have multiple micro niches with underneath that umbrella, right? So you want to kind of explore and go and become the master of that one niche, know it from the inside out. I also love that you mentioned about the niches. I don't have it on my desk right now, but I have a cup that says
Oh, nice.
drink every time Heather says niche.
I need drink every time Leslie says niche. That's incredible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know what I did with it. I recently had all of my sample products and I put them away in a box, but I have I have one cup that's like
Yeah.
right over there by Fancy Fanny. And yeah, anyways, that's me going off tangent. I'm so
No, I love
sorry.
it. Very cool. Okay, so I think that is a perfect segue then into. So we know a little bit about you could do 3 different types. You could even do 4 different types because technically you also can sell yourself and services on Etsy as well, right? We won't get into that today, obviously. But you are also, it's funny, you're like, I'm not a digital seller, but at the same time, you kind of are because you're selling digital products off of Etsy. So
Yep.
I like to let people know as well. EverBee is transitioning into helping people build businesses online. So it's not going to be just Etsy anymore. It's not going to be just e-commerce. And that's a very, very intentional pivot that we're making because of people like Heather's experience. Like, you started in the healthcare space, then you went to POD, then you tested a couple of other things on Etsy, but then you even became a digital seller even without Etsy, which is even more incredible. So one quick question as a follow-up to what you just asked, or not really a question as much as a statement. So you mentioned a second ago that there are sub niches or cross niches or anything of that nature. That's what I would recommend as well, is if we can do, let's just say, like you, healthcare, the medical field, but using things like EverBee to be able to see that, like, maybe we don't move forward with nurse because that's going to be highly, highly saturated. But what about cardio, thoracic surgery? Probably not saturated, but people that are in that space are going to spend top dollar on the things that you make, as long as, of course, they are quality. So with that said, I want to also make sure it's September 12th, which is insane. Like, where did 2024 go? Blink of an eye, right? And the fact that, like, when I did the math, that I've been here 8 months doing these lives, absolutely insane. But that means that we are in the best / most pressurized time to get ready for Q4, right? Q4 is literally less than 20 days away. Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys should have been probably doing this. Like, I was making Q4 videos in July on our channel, right? So you guys should have already been diving into this. But if you haven't, that's totally fine. We're going to go over some Q4 stuff today with Heather directly from her mouth. So Q4 is a critical time for many sellers. We know that. What specific strategies do you personally use in your shops to prepare for this busy season and hopefully maximize sales and traffic during the period as well?
Yeah. So first and foremost, your catalog that you have on Etsy is probably the most important asset to building your Etsy shop up for this holiday season. I just made a YouTube video recently that I highly recommend watching in full. It's the myths of quarter 4.
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah, and that I go over that a lot of people think that you have to create Christmas listings for the holiday season, which to that I say you actually don't. You can create evergreen products and niches that are going to sell all year round. For those who are new to seasonal versus evergreen and those terms, seasonal is a listing that typically will sell a few months during the year, and then you'll see no sales probably the rest of the year. That when we're talking about seasonal listings on Etsy, those are typically those Christmas listings, Easter, Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, you name it, any holiday type of product typically will sell a few months and then it will die off in sales. Evergreen products and niches and those listings that you create sell all year round. So an example of that is a mom gift or a grandmother gift or a birthday gift, because there's birthdays every day, right? So what I recommend as far as strategy is how you're building your listings and your catalog up in your Etsy business, which is simply by increasing the amount of listings and increasing your product catalog through what I primarily focus on is evergreen listings. And I don't use much, or if any, SEO that is Christmas related, because one thing that I'm finding that Etsy has done in the past few years that I've sold on Etsy is you don't have to have Christmas in your SEO. It does help to maybe add it in one tag. I'm not gonna discount that. Add Christmas, add Xmas. People search for Christmas gifts or they put Xmas gifts. So just a SEO pro tip there. But you don't need to, because what Etsy wants is as many sales during the holiday season as possible, right? And they're going to try to push up the listings that do well in certain categories, no matter if they have that SEO phrase for Christmas or what have you. They're going to want to push up your listing to the top because they want those sales running for Etsy as a platform. So that's the first thing, is building your shop. And like you said, Leslie, July, this summer is when it is time to prep. I know we're a little bit into, we're going into the fall now. And some people might be panicking like, oh my God, I missed everything. I missed it. You did not miss it. I just want to say that
No,
you did
definitely
not.
not.
It is still possible to start
100%.
a shop right now and
Mhm.
start listing and building your business. I
Mhm.
just want to say that in that same breath as well, and not panic anyone, because
Right.
I had a student, I want to say it was last year's quarter 4. She started in, I want to say July, June. She didn't really start listing until it was like August, September. She ended up hitting 100 order sale days.
Wow.
Yeah, if you guys want to check out that story, she's on
Totally.
my channel, Shay. I did an interview with her, and I was literally like,
Mm.
again, flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted.
You're dropping that word a couple times today.
Make a print on demand shirt now that says
Right?
flabbergasted.
We're both gonna have, like, matching tumblers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I was gonna
Yep.
say to
I
Leslie's
love it. Just
comment, I
flabbergasted.
always have 2 drinks as well.
Yep.
Hashtag 2 drink club out here, or
Right.
3 drink club. But besides that, sorry, I totally went off tangent, but yeah, it's not too late to start. And I hope that story inspires those of you who are sitting here right now and being like, ah, man, like
Mm.
I missed it. And it is never too late. I heard this on a podcast, and it sounds like a regurgitated phrase I hear everywhere all the time. But um, in the podcast episode I listened to, they said that the best time to start something
Mm.
was yesterday,
Yep.
and the second best time to start is today.
Yep.
So
I love that.
yeah, so if anyone's here, you feel like you're too late, I did too. Look where I'm
Mhm.
at now.
Right.
So you can start and see that progress in your business, and not only your business, but hopefully that will bleed into your life one day. So
Right.
yeah.
I love that, and like you said, it's not too late. We are not too far into the year, and especially if, someone is not brand new. Let's say they've been doing this for 6 months, they're seeing a little bit of traction, maybe even a lot of traction, and they're trying to figure out the best strategy to either keep up that traction or maybe even get into the seasonal space over the next couple of months. So do
Mhm.
you have any, like, whether it's, like, one amazing tip or a couple of tips for us to really peak those December sales, outside of, we know gift mode, we know doing things for mom, for dad, for grandpa, etc. We Those can last all year long. But is there anything else that you can think of for someone that maybe they're not brand new? Maybe they've been doing a little bit or a lot of bit of sales this year, but they're ready to do even more in December. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I have a few strategies in growing and scaling and supercharging the sales for the quarter 4. So first off, if you have already a converting shop and you have listings that are converting, you will want to harness some Etsy ads or other traffic strategies, even externally from Etsy itself. So ways to do that is, prime example, EverBee email. I don't know if is it Ever email or EverBee email?
In the process of nomenclature change, but yes,
Yes,
just
yes,
the email marketing with an EverBee is
yes.
fine.
So the email marketing with EverBee, it is so unique, and it's such a beautiful designed email that I have not seen for the Etsy space. Like, I've used so many other email marketing tools,
Same.
and it makes it so easy for Etsy because you can set up sequencing, you can schedule, and it will pull products from your inventory. So you don't have to go and screenshot a picture of your product or save a mock-up photo. You can just link a listing real quick in the email. And then also you can do newsletters that send weekly that say, hey, we have new product drops in our shop. Hey, we have a flash sale running, check it out. So building an email list and growing that. And one of the easiest ways is that QR code feature with EverBee. That is one of the easiest ways because you can apply that to all of your listings on Etsy so easily. And even just like unbiased opinion, like I know I'm on EverBee's channel. I know that I have partnered with EverBee in the past, but like, if I had not been partnered, I would still be using their
Totally.
EverBee email because it just saves so much time. And time is so important for a lot of us sellers, especially when we're working 9 to 5s and all of that. So growing your email list right now is the best thing you can do. And the easiest way is to start with that QR code on your photo cards for each listing, and adding that in, saying, hey, you can get a additional or maybe like a higher discount on your next or first purchase with our shop by signing up for our email list. That's the best way to grow that email list. I know a lot of Etsy sellers do not want to hear me talking about email, but it is so helpful.
Yeah.
It's the most long-term thing you can do
Agreed.
for your business. And
Yeah.
the second thing is social media. Building your social media. I know it's uncomfortable, but you don't have to show your face to create a social media account. In fact, I did not show my face in my Instagram that I built to over 1,000. I believe it was well over 1,500 followers. I had customers like adding me on Instagram. And so you don't need to show your face, and you could just show your products and post and do giveaways. And quick side note is make sure that you read the giveaway rules on Instagram or other places. And I think, Leslie, you've covered that on
Yep.
EverBee, right? Yeah. So
Yeah. If you just go back into like either our marketing playlist or our lives, there's like, I think 4 videos that are just fully social media based.
nice. Yeah. I was going to say, I thought you covered that pretty well. So like watch that content. Leslie has such a wealth of knowledge in these EverBee coffee chats and just those calls and YouTube videos. But so that's kind of my strategies, is internally and externally boosting my traffic. And again, Etsy ads, increasing your catalog is going to do that organically. And scaling out what's selling. If you have a bestseller or something converting, do you have that on 4 different products outside of that initial product? So if you have a t-shirt that's a bestseller, do you have that design on a mug, on a tote bag, on a I don't know, tumbler? I'm trying to think of other things that would make sense for a tank top, long sleeve, sweatshirt. If that is selling, you need to scale it right now. So hopefully that's helpful and gives some value for those of you in here today.
Sweet. I love that. I'll also say, I think it was on the tip of your tongue when you were saying it as well. And I always say time is the most expensive like thing that we have. So yes, you can pay for ads. You can pay for Etsy ads. Yes, you can pay for the product, the inventory itself. Yes, you can pay for an influencer to make a video about your product, but time that we are personally investing is going to be the most expensive thing. So anything that you could potentially do to save that time or outsource it or use a software is only going to help us that much more as sellers, as entrepreneurs, etc. So one little plug I will say about the EverBee email thing, and I'm the exact way. I used EverBee email before I ever worked with EverBee. So like I'm like a really good testament that like I actually used it for about a year when it wasn't even, like, to be honest, that great back then, and now all the different features it has. So one thing that I really love to help save, because time is the most important and most expensive thing that we have access to, is Heather was mentioning flash sales, your new weekly product drops. You can literally build those out a year in advance. So it's not something that you have to do every single Monday, because like we said, time is the most expensive investment in yourself. So like get your Q4, all of Q4 plan ready after this call today. Get your marketing plan, get your verbiage ready, get your copywriting ready, get your product ideas ready, and then start thinking, how would someone be like impacted? Like, what is going to influence them enough in an email to get them to my shop? Because yes, Etsy wants conversions, of course. They want sales, but they also want views. And that's only going to help your shop success score as well. So as much external traffic as we can build in, and as much time that you can invest right now to not have to invest it for the next 3.5 months. I mean, in my opinion, it's just a no-brainer. And you don't have to use EverBee email, but just freaking use email. Like, if you listen to nothing else we say, use email, use social media. I've said it 1,000 times on this channel. If you are new here, thank you, Heather, for bringing that up. Please feel free to look at I think I have 6 videos that are completely dedicated to email. And I think I have 4 to 6 videos that are completely dedicated to social media for Etsy sellers. So yes, please go look at those. And then I think that's all the time that we have just for our chat, simply because I want to make sure we have we have 18 questions from you guys. Like, you are loving this conversation. There's 235 of you guys live with us right now. I thank you guys so much for being here. I want to ask Heather one more thing. Is there anything before we move into the live Q&A? Is there one last tip, one last thought, one last piece of advice that you want to give us before we move on?
I feel like I watched a SNL skit recently that was like it was like over business owners, and I almost every time I get that question in interviews, I almost want to be like, just start.
Right. Today is the best day. Yeah.
I feel like that's always like the classic response. I'm trying to think of something more creative than that, but I literally can't, because it is so true. Like it is one of those like annoying things you hear a lot, is if you are procrastinating starting this, I would just give it a shot. If you're going to start with print on demand, expect to hold out and give this business model a chance for 3 to 6 months. I think that when people jump in, they expect that immediate result. They expect that immediate win and sales. And I really recommend you to give this 3 to 6 months at the very least. It is an investment, I will say, in comparison to other business models. If we're looking at digital versus print on demand and handmade, you're looking at a investment of probably a few $100s over the course of the next few months to 6 months, just to be completely honest and transparent with anyone who's starting this business model. But I want you to compare this to brick and mortar, that you're usually taking out a loan of over thousands of dollars, and you're investing into inventory. That's what a lot of handmade sellers typically do, right? And so in comparison to that, you're looking at more of a lower investment, lower risk. However, with digital, given there's the benefits, right? You don't have that much investment. So it's kind of what business model is going to look the best for you, and what your maybe talents are best for. Just explore. If you're in this stage, as much as I preach and talk about print on demand, I don't believe it's for everyone. But the other thing is, and I know that sounds very unmotivating to say that, I don't mean to like dishearten people, but a lot of us and a lot of you watching are entrepreneurs at heart. And sometimes the path of print on demand will lead you onto a different path that you may not know existed yet. And that's okay too. But just keep exploring, keep trying out different avenues until you find that thing that works. Because man, if someone told me that I would be doing print on demand, I mean, your first business is not going to be your best business, right? It might not be the one that you find is going to help you quit your 9 to 5, and that's okay. That's just the journey, and just enjoy the journey. Enjoy the moments. I know a lot of us think, oh man, I wish I was at this stage in my business. I wish I was here. And last book recommendation I'm going to give here, but The Gap and the Gain book I read recently. And in that book, one of the main concepts is that a lot of us find ourselves in the gap, which is basically where we are comparing our current selves to a future ideal of ourselves. And in that gap, that only allows us to be unsatisfied with the life we are currently living. And to be in the gain, we need to enjoy the present moment. And I just highly recommend reading that book if you feel like that right now, because I cannot stress that enough to any of you, is you will never be satisfied with your current existence and just in your life. Oh my gosh, this is getting really deep. I am so sorry.
Oh, I love it. It's perfect.
Everyone's like, I was not expecting this.
They're like, I came to learn about print on demand, but now we're getting a full therapy session. I love it. I'm here for it.
We're going layers deep in this today because that's the truth though, right? Like if you're dissatisfied with your current place that you are right now, that's okay. I don't want to say like totally. I know everyone has their daily struggles,
Totally.
but just knowing that enjoy the journey because one day you're going to look back
Mhm.
and think, man, I wish I spent more time with that person or I enjoyed that moment in the grind because I look back now and I'm like, man, I really like the excitement I felt with print on demand, even when I wasn't making sales yet.
Right.
Just enjoy those moments and read that book, The Gap in the Game, because I think it will help a lot of you who may be comparing yourselves to the future ideal of yourself. So,
Yeah. I love it, and I also wanna say, I always say, like, I am the biggest competition for myself, but
mhm,
I worked for about 4 years to get that mentality. So it used to be, and this is something I wanna caution you guys on as well, is not only comparing yourself to who you want to be later on, but comparing to like, I always say, like, don't to someone else, like, that I'm working with, because I obviously offer consulting and coaching as well. Do compare my 3rd year to your 1st day or to your 1st month, or don't compare my 36th month to your 3rd month, you know? So I really wanna say that as well, like, I love that you guys are here. Again, we have almost 220 people watching this right now, and you might be feeling that it is like, "Oh my god, everything Heather is saying is amazing. It's so motivational, it's so inspiring and empowering," but, like, I'm not even close. But that's okay because we are competing with ourselves and we are getting ready for who that person is going to be later on down the road. So, yes, I want to make sure that we are focusing on ourselves. We are treating ourselves as our competitors, but also making sure that we are not looking at someone else as the gauge of our worth. So, I really, really love that. Great, great feedback there. Everyone else is like, everyone else is loving this too. So I can't wait till you go back and watch the chat. Like, thank you so, so much for being here. This has been such an incredible conversation. I will say we do have 23 questions now since
oh,
the second.
we'll, we'll
Um,
rapid fire.
yeah, so we're gonna have to rapid fire these because I want to make sure that you guys can get back to your day and Heather can get back to her day too. But let's go ahead and just go one by one. And if we do not get to all of them, guys, I will find a way to get these answered, whether Heather and I have to do it offline. We have to get you guys some questions answered in the comments. We will answer all of these, but let's try to get through as many as we can now. Heather, do you have any advice for how to direct a POD and digital gift store? I have both products, but I manage it very difficultly, whatever. She basically can't get POD sales. She's really only receiving digital sales. So she has POD and digital in one shop and she's struggling to get POD sales. Do you have any advice on that?
I guess if you have POD and digital sales, are you selling the same SVG template or are you selling SVG digital products that you're selling also on print on demand products? That's usually my first question when I usually hear that issue. If you are, then I would separate the stores. That's not something I typically recommend, but if you're noticing you're not seeing traction on your physical product store, then I would maybe look at separating the stores because a lot of the times when people are finding your shop, they may be finding it through Etsy's pull of that customer's history. So let's say that if you're selling digital products a lot in your shop and that's what's selling for your shop, Etsy is going to be recommending that to people looking for digital assets. And it will maybe be showing your print on demand products too. And that might confuse customers that it's kind of lowering your visibility on Etsy. So hopefully that helps. Again, you can have a shop that does have digital and print on demand products, but that's a problem I've been seeing with a lot of shops is due to that Etsy like history pull for customers that you end up kind of getting confused in the algorithm. So
Something I've actually done in the past too is I sell digital products majority, and it's for helping, online entrepreneurs. But then I will do like a Tumblr that says like, um, awesome girl gang member or something. Like I'm just making this up as I go, but like like that I think is a way that you can pair the two types together. But what I wouldn't do is put what I put as a digital product also, like you said, as a printable item. So that makes complete sense.
yeah.
All right. So I don't know if we're going to be able to answer this. You let me know, of course. But someone says they have an item that they've been running an ad on. It's sold about 6 times so far through Etsy ads, and almost every day gets favorited. How long should I keep my ad up for this item?
So typically when it comes to ads, ads are getting a little bit trickier as far as ad strategy and kind of watching your own ads. So the first thing to look at, I feel like I've talked about ads in the past, and honestly, I need to make like a whole
Yeah.
YouTube video on it
Whole
because it
YouTube
is,
channel almost.
yeah, there's a lot of metrics. There's a
Yeah.
lot of metrics that Etsy, they calculate your return on ad spend, and that's not actually the metric you should be looking at that Etsy provides. You need to
Mhm.
create and calculate your own break even return on ad spend, first of all. And that is based on your cost of goods sold. Now, I'm throwing out a lot of terms,
Mhm.
and I highly recommend writing them down.
Yes.
Again, it's a whole YouTube video. I don't want to confuse and overwhelm, but those are factors that inform me as someone to give advice on, hey, you should keep ads running or turn it off. If the simplest answer I guess I could give without looking at the ads is, if you are making profit per order compared to the amount that Etsy ads is spending on the ad,
Mhm.
then typically, yes, you should keep it running. That would be a very easy yes. But a lot
Mhm.
of the times, what I've seen is sellers say, oh, I'm losing money on ads. In total of all of their ads that they're running Etsy ads on, you need to look at the micro and look at each ad individually,
Mhm.
not as a whole. So if you're making profit on that individual listing that you're running ads on, keep it on. If you have multiple listings that you're losing money on, turn them off. And typically that, I don't want to say it's that simple though. I
Mhm.
wouldn't just turn off all of your ads right now, because you do need to collect data first. Usually 30 to 60 days is minimum that you're going to
Mhm.
want to collect data. You also want to spend a certain amount on each listing that you're running ads on to collect that data, because sometimes Etsy won't show that listing. So you have no data to even
True.
decide to turn that off. So anyways, besides that, that's it. That's
I
all I'll
love that.
say. So I
Yeah.
don't take up this whole question section.
No, you're good. And if you guys are wondering, highly recommend looking up. So it's called ROAS, is what she was talking about. ROAS. Look that up on Google. Learn as much as you can about it. Return on ad spend. The second one she mentioned was COGS. COGS, cost of goods sold. So those are two just very high level kind of acronyms, if you will, that we use in e-commerce, that if you don't know them, you're gonna want to learn them. So feel free, go grab those. And I think that might be able to answer your question, Aaron, as well. All right, so Life's Peachy asked, am I too late for making and listing Halloween designs? I wonder if I should skip it completely and go straight to Christmas. My immediate thought to that is it depends on who you are as a seller, because digital sales can literally happen until the day before Halloween.
Yep.
From experience, I've bought them and then printed it out myself the day before Halloween. But if you're print on demand, maybe. What do you think, Heather?
So as far as print on demand, I like to say it kind of is a little bit late as far as hitting the peak sale volumes that you could potentially get right now. And that's something I kind of go over in my membership, Bestseller Insider. I do that like monthly, what to design for this month
Nice.
before that peak maximum sale volume hits. I call it trend surfing. So
Nice.
basically, when you surf, if you imagine that Etsy inserted trends are like a wave. So, or seasonal niches are like a wave. There's a part where if you post too soon, you're going to notice that it's kind of like you're kind of just hitting
On
that
the
wave.
stand still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you post at the right time in the right place and in the right niches, the right designs, and you post where that wave starts to go. It starts
Mhm.
to hit the peak point and you're surfing the sales. That's where you want to hit.
Nice.
Right now, I would say we're below that wave.
Understood.
So you're not going to hit that maximum peak sale volume that you could. You can still get sales though. It's not
Mhm.
too late to post, but if you imagine that example, then you may want to put your time into
Mhm.
a different avenue right now. And that would be like Thanksgiving or Christmas. That would be probably more worth your time. So you can hit those peak sales and that peak wave of sales for your shop.
I
So
love that. Very, very cool. So my next question, and I don't know if you remember this. This was, almost 4 years ago now. Do you remember what your first cha-ching was? T-shirt, sweatshirt, mug?
yeah, it was a Bell and Canvas Valentine's Day
Nice.
t-shirt that
Very
sold.
cool.
Yep.
How
And
early, if you this is not a question they had, but it's kind of, what you just to build off of what you just said. Do you know how early you listed that one? Because I think you started in January, so do you think you did it about
it,
beforehand?
it was January. It took like, I think it was the fourth week. The listing was up that I
Oh,
got.
wow. Okay,
Yeah.
very cool. So give or take mid-January, beginning of January to sell for Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Beautiful. I love it. Okay, so looking back to when you started to kind of take off, someone asked, how many products do you believe you were carrying in your shop at that time? Or how many do you do, now that you think people should aspire to? Because some people have 20 products and they like kill it. There's some people that have 2,000 products and don't kill it. So what is your advice on that?
Yes. So when my shop initially took off, it was at, I'd say, 200 to 300 listing mark. I will say I did also use the external traffic strategy as far as I posted in Facebook groups, and that's
Yep.
where I noticed the largest upswing in my shop and in my business. So that was at about 200 to 300 listings, and I eventually grew my shop to 400, then 500 listings. I believe in my second year of that shop. So it was 400 listings at the end of that year in my first year for that business. So hopefully that helps. But like you said, the number and quantity, I feel like when I first started on YouTube, I made a mistake in talking about quantity too much because I think that it gets people thinking that quality doesn't matter. And that was a mistake I made when I began on YouTube talking about my quantity and not really mentioning and touching as deeply into that quality does really matter. And I think that's something that I got really good at is creating a high converting listing on repeat.
Yeah.
And what that looks like is having great SEO, great photo cards with high quality images and mock-up images. You're answering all the questions that the customer may message you. And again, I can go into a whole tangent on that, but basically, that's why I kind of preached quantity over quality when I began on YouTube, because to me, I just thought like
Yeah.
quantity, like you don't realize what you're saying and what you're really putting out there on the internet until later on, and it's like, oh man, I didn't mean
Right.
that. I meant
Right.
quality as well, right?
Right.
And that's what I teach in my tutorials on YouTube now. So,
Great.
and that's what I really dive into. But you need to have quality first. You need to get consistent and skilled at listing before you accelerate and put on the gas on your listing amount. So first focus on quality, then go to quantity. But for my second shop that I opened, it started to really rev up at around, I want to say 300 listing mark again. And then what I would recommend is a few hundred listings. I think that, again, if you have good quality, you're going to typically hit that brink of really getting sales at the multiple hundred mark, as far as my experience with working with clients and past students and members of my groups. That's typically the mark where people start to see it. I don't think you need 1,000 listings, but I will say some people, sometimes it's going to be 1,000, sometimes it's going to be a few thousand. Again, don't compare your journey to my journey because it's going to look a lot different for every individual person. I've had a lot of friends in this industry who've had multiple thousand listings who have, they didn't see the sales I did at a few hundred. It took them a few thousand, and they ended up hitting amazing numbers. They ended up hitting millions in revenue in their shops. So don't get discouraged when you hear that and maybe you're already at 500.
Right. Of course.
Yep.
I love that. Okay, well, we only have about 2 more minutes before 11, so I definitely wanna ask one more question just because of recency effect, something that's hitting October 1st. Um, We do have a lot more questions to get through, however. So, what I will do, guys, is I will chat with Heather offline and try to get all of these answered, whether I pop them in the description of this video or we have her soon again, because you guys have so many questions and I really want to get these answered. But most importantly, right now, in my opinion, because I don't know if you guys know this, we will actually be dropping a video, I believe, next week or 2 weeks from now. But Etsy has just updated their kind of visibility standards where they want you to have shipping below $6 in order to still get your listings seen by potential customers. Someone asked, with print on demand, how do you handle shipping charges when a print on demand provider could potentially charge more than the 6 and then you're losing out on that?
Yeah, so it is something that you do have to compensate a little bit on your pricing. Either you take the L, as people say, on maybe that difference between the shipping cost, or you increase your prices so that you're changing your shipping profiles to under $6. That's something I'm doing in my own shop and something I'm recommending across the board because there is not really a way to kind of go around that, unfortunately. And I can see print on demand providers and production partners in the future probably adjusting their shipping costs as well to
Right.
reflect that change. But right
Right.
now, as print on demand sellers, we do need to follow the new Etsy guidelines and lower our shipping and lower their shipping profiles so that we are kind of keeping in good graces with Etsy and their algorithm, so to speak. So that is something I am recommending. You know, I I don't usually like recommending that though.
Right.
Like I don't like recommending increasing
I
prices to
know.
compensate for the shipping. Like that, it hurts to say that, but that's, you know, that's the name of kind of what we have to do. So we still see a nice profit and we're not paying for the shipping in the long run unless you're offering free shipping and you're still seeing a profit. That's great. You don't have to worry. But if you have over $6 of shipping, that's something that you're going to have to reprice and reconfigure your pricing strategy going forward. So
Yeah, and the good news is this is not just something that print on demand sellers are experiencing. Everybody is experiencing this unless you are a digital seller who doesn't have shipping cost, right?
yeah,
So don't be nervous and be like, "Oh, how am I going to compete?" Every single one of us are going through this exact same thing right now, having this exact same kind of come to Jesus meeting with ourselves of should we not? So I'm really glad someone asked that questions because it's literally happening to everyone on October 1st. As I mentioned, we will have a video explaining all of that go live in about a week or two. So feel free, be on the lookout for that. And with that said, guys, we have so many more questions. I really do want to make sure I can get all of them answered for you. But today we are out of time. With that said, I want to give a huge shout out and huge thank you to Heather for being here. This is, I think, other than Belize, because we were in Belize, but like this is the most engaged, the most informative, the most inspiring coffee with EverBee takeover we've done. So thank you, seriously, from the bottom of my heart and EverBee. This has been super awesome, and we really appreciate you.
yeah. Thanks for having me on the channel, Leslie.
Of course, absolutely. And everybody else is saying thank you, thank you. So
Aw.
I'm very excited to have you. Thank you guys so much for being here. A couple of people have asked, will this be live somewhere in the future? Absolutely. You can always go to the live section of the EverBee YouTube and you can watch this. The replay will literally go live the second I click end stream. So yes, you will have full access to that. Like I said, let me chat with Heather and see what we can do to get the rest of these answered for you. And then the last little plug I want to do for you guys to help you out even further from Heather, go into the description. She's actually giving everyone who watched this video, whether on replay or on live, free access to her print on demand crash course. So go down there, go grab that. It literally just requires your email and then you're right in. So with that said, guys, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And again, thank you, Heather, for being here. And we will see you in the next one.
See ya.
Thanks, guys. See ya.